Okay, we are just going to see how this goes. So I've got Frankie here with my slipper. Did you just get my slipper? Um, anyway, wow, that was really good timing. So, um, she like just came into the room, but it's been a while since I've done any kind of video recording, and I just got the inspiration to pop on and do this now. With the caveat that I don't have to share it. So, but I've wanted to share the shift that we are collectively experiencing from an astrology perspective. I know you can look at all kinds of systems, but today I'm specifically, and I like a lot of them. Today I'm specifically going to speak on astrology. And my favorite aspect to look at, is it an aspect? I don't know. I'm not an astrologer. I just really enjoy it. And it's a language that makes sense to me. And my favorite aspect to look at in a chart is the North Node and the South Node. So the nodes are not planets, they're like points on the moon, and they're always at like it's an axis. So they're always directly opposite of one another. And we are always in some kind of North Node and South Node. Every time we shift, the tone, the undertone of the flavor of what's going on over those 18 months is kind of colored by this shift. And what's really cool is that there's, a collective implication. I mean, as with anything, there's a collective implication and then there's personal implications. And for me personally, the last 18 months have been in my natal, no, I've had a natal nodal return, try to say that multiple times. So I'm an Aries North Node and Libra South Node. And, the last 18 months have been a lot for many of us. Some of the themes have been, letting go of, or even just like having more awareness around people pleasing. I like to call people pleasing self-abandoning. I'm not people pleasing, I'm self-abandoning, because I think we try to make it sound better than it actually is. But anyway, letting go of putting our needs aside for other people and ignoring our own voice and our own truth and moving into the energies of Aries, which is, about taking action and um, acting before you think sometimes, and having the courage to use your voice, and especially coming from a Libra South Node, which can be a very, the gift of Libra is that energy can really sense what energies are missing in a dynamic to add to then create harmony. The problem is when you do that at your own expense rather, and you take on over responsibility for creating harmony. So many of us kind of individually, and that's mostly what I'll speak about, will have noticed instances where that has occurred, where you've noticed that maybe you felt a burst of, I don't want to do that anymore. But anyway, the Aries energy is just, warrior energy, and having the courage to just like, you know, do your thing and be a fool, and not a fool in like you're a weirdo fool, but like, because that's more Aquarian, but like be a fool and like, I have this inner spark that is leading me somewhere and I'm just going to follow it. It's kind of like a fast kind of energy. What we're moving into is a shift to a Pisces North Node and a Virgo South Node. And what you're really going to want to look at personally is where those two signs fall in your chart, what houses they're associated with. If if you are born, I think 19 around, you'll need to look at the specific dates, because there is a date cutoff, of course. Like this is shifting on January 11th. Um, if you were born, it's somewhere around 1987, 1988. In that sequence, maybe even a little into 1989, then you are a Pisces North Node. And yeah, I'm pretty sure some of 1987 is included in that. Anyway, so then you are having your nodal, natal nodal return. And anytime you're having a kind of return, it's kind of a marker, a threshold, a moment for you, kind of specifically. So that I have a lot of people in my life that have this signature in their chart, and my husband is one of them. But the other thing, if that's not you, you're going to want to look for, where is Pisces and where is Virgo, and are there planets in there, and what kind of planets are in there, and what houses are ruling, or what houses are they associated with? Are they ruling? So what I mean by that, I'll just use my chart as an example. I am a Virgo rising. It is in my first house. And so it rules the energies of the first house, which is how you present. I'm just going to say that for now. And, someone described the rising sign to me before as, kind of like being the car that you drive through life in. So you could be like a Jeep, or you could be a BMW, or you could be an Outback. Virgo has its own like tone, of what that car is like. And it's kind of like how people maybe assume you are. It's how people see you. It's sort of like your brand. So I guess I am explaining it a little bit. Anyway, Virgo is, well, so anyway, I'll tell you my chart. I'm a Virgo rising, and then so that means first house. And then the opposite is Pisces, which is in my seventh house. So the first house is all about the individual, you, sometimes connects to your body, things like that. How your physical vessel. And the seventh house is about relationships and committed, specifically committed partnerships. So this is going to be, um, you know, lifelong partners, marriages, long-term, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, whatever. Um, this could be business partners. This could be clients. This could be, anyone that you have a longer term engagement with. So with Pisces in the seventh house, for me, that means Pisces rules the energy of partnerships for me. And that means this year is going to be like lit up in that area. We collectively are heading toward the energy of Pisces. So again, for me, it's hitting the seventh house, which means my partnership, my committed partnerships are going to get a boost of energy, initiations, maybe, trials that help refine how I choose to move forward. I kind of see the North Node, um, you know, as like, yeah, I mean, it's where it's what you're evolving into, right? So, um, your natal North Node is going to feel pretty challenging for you to evolve into, because you were born with that placement. So that means you've spent a lot of time in that South Node energy, comfortable in the South Node. The North Node is like the stretch. Collectively, we've been more comfortable in the South Node energy. The North Node is more of a stretch. This is like I don't know, I guess probably like 18-year-ish cycle. I don't know the years, but so on a collective level, that plays out a little bit differently. Personally, it is, it's just showing me what is going to experience a lot of attention this year. And then what's the tone of that? So the tone is Pisces, and subject matter is the house. Yeah, that's how I'll say it. And so the South Node is what you are releasing, what we're letting go of, what is outdated and old. And the North Node is where we're growing into, and the qualities, ways of showing up, ways of being that we are being asked to steward. So to just give the general tone of what this looks like, just theme wise, I'm going to talk about what we're letting go of first. and which actually really applies to this video, actually. Um, so, which is just making me laugh. So, Virgo is what we're letting go of the qualities of Virgo that are not serving. So each sign has a high expression and a low expression. And what we're doing is we're taking forward the high expressions into the Piscean era, and we're letting go of the lower expressions. And so, just as a general, I mean, everything is so nuanced, and I could spend hours speaking about this. So, the Virgo qualities that we want to look out for or just notice that might be getting like activated in your system, or you might just, yeah, you might just notice it, are the idea that you can get something perfect, this idea of unattainable perfection. Virgo is a relentless self-critic, relentless self-critic. I want to say that many times. And so, you know, letting go of perfectionism is such a huge unwinding. It's going to be big for a lot of people, myself included. Step one, I'm showing up on camera. May or may not send this video to my people, but I'm not wearing makeup. I didn't put anything on. I don't have a bra, and I don't wear a bra a lot, but I'm not together. I'm normally more together. Um, but I'm just flowing, which is Pisces, that's another thing. Well, see, I'm already trying to do it. Um, so with I'll come back to Virgo. With Virgo being perfectionistic, there's an energy of rigidity and systems and structures that have really served, but have been overused. So, when something has been used too much and it no longer is actually like giving you what it was intended for, or it's outdated, truly like your system needs to update the way that it functions so that you're current in your life. You're not operating from like an old, version of you from when you were 15. But yeah, Virgo is going to feel very detail oriented. It's smaller picture. It's clear and concise. There's a love usually of language and ways of speaking and ways of delivering information, like messaging in general. So there's just going to be an interesting, like, you might see people who have heavy Virgo placements literally releasing content into the world, or like myself, I'm like, oh, this video is like such a meta example. Like, I'm just stepping into it and I'm gonna probably send this. So just like letting things out there, and it's not necessarily without it being good, if you will. It's sort of just trusting the frequency of it more. The Pisces energy would be the energy of flow and the energy of, you know, ultimately we're all one. The Pisces, and so I'm already moving into Pisces. So the North Node, where we're all headed, is this greater understanding, acknowledgement, acceptance that we are all very deeply connected, that our vulnerable experiences do not separate us. They actually bring us together, that there is a true healing ability that is accessed when you are messy and real. Um, Virgo wants to like put it all together in a nice bow and then present it in a way that makes sense to people. Pisces is like, if you listen to someone who has Mercury in Pisces, which is their the planet that like talks about how you communicate, um, their stories or minds, you watch them just kind of like you watch them do a lot of things. Um, they're not usually very succinct. Though everything does relate some way, it may not feel very clear. So moving collectively into, I mean, lack of clarity, cloudiness, not necessarily bad. It's just, when I think about that, on a larger sphere, there may be a lot of information that's released that adds to a lot of cloudiness, you know? So the need, the requirement, if you want to stay, I mean, by this point, there's just a lot of people who have woken up who can't go back to sleep, So if you're awake, if you're here, if you're listening to this, then you know, this applies, you care. Um, but you're going to want to have some grounding practices, some internal practices, discernment practices, you know, as the collective swirl occurs. And it's really, I like could get into other energetics, astrology energetics that are also happening. I'm not going to. Just the tone is a lot of new energy that our systems are wanting, but aren't really necessarily ready for. And the ability to become aligned with them without taking years and generations to align with new energy has massively sped up. So there's just a lot of like, that kind of thing. And the way forward into that, and I don't mean to say this like you need to learn how to jump timelines or do anything that it's not nature for you. It's really just like where in my life can I allow more? Where in my life can I let go of perfectionism? I feel like that's going to be like, well, my Virgo rising mind is like, you're going to want to let go of perfectionism first, and then you're going to want to do this and that. It's not going to go linearly at all. For some, it might, for some, it might not. But, kind of like encouraging you to, and I'm going to be doing this too, reflect on the themes that are happening in both spheres, signs, nodes, whatever. So Pisces, some more of that energy is going to look like, yeah, I wonder if we're going to have a renewal around the idea of forgiveness. And that's just popping into my head now. That's really uh, supportive to the work that I do, obviously. So thumbs up. Um, I mean, if you're new around here, I help people move into forgiveness through the healing modality that I work with. Um, and, kind of work with the energies, the healing energies of forgiveness. Um, but, but yeah, that the kind of like the higher expression again of Pisces is going to be um, really that just like greater knowing that we are all, that your pain is my pain, that my pain is your pain, that we are all together. And the shadow side or the lower expression of Pisces is really like almost like disassociating through psychedelics or drugs or like getting so dreamy that you're ungrounded, that you're not staying in reality. And so, Virgo brings us into like full reality. Pisces is like, which can look like, you know, fear and anxiety. And then Pisces brings you into like, can bring you into um, full reality in that we are all one, but then it can move into this other expression of um, like we are all one and there are no boundaries, you know? And so what is mine and what is yours? What matters if I do anything? So I'm just gonna watch Netflix all the time. I'm just gonna, I'm on my healing journey, so I'm just gonna do like psilocybin trip, ketamine trip, ayahuasca trip. Like you might see a lot of that like dialing up. And the invitation that I offer is to be aware of, are you just on like a healing loop? Like are you integrating those learnings from those wild experiences in many cases that help you to feel that deep connection to all, or help you to sense into your like higher calling, or, you know, I don't want to go into what each one of those things do, but um, I think many things are valuable. Hey, just hanging out with the slipper. What a bro. Anyway, see, I'm off traffic. I'm off topic already. Um, Ooh, this is going to be a tough year for me to communicate. So anyway, the invitation is to just be real with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Is this actually, am I seeing progress? What's so great that you can bring from Virgo? So again, when we're in a nodal shift, you're bringing forward the higher expression into the next sequence of this iteration. And the whole idea of the nodes, I think, is that we're like, you know, we're continuing to like expand with consciousness and balance out the frequencies on the planet that have been overbalanced, So we've been overbalanced in Virgo and a perfecting style, and you can't get anything wrong. Like if I think about if this is an 18-ish year, and I know I have that wrong, but if this is like an 18-ish year cycle, I think about 18 years of my life and how driven I've been by not being wrong, not all the time, but in so many of my triggering arguments with my husband, or, my own inner worth challenges of just feeling like I'm doing everything wrong, or I must be wrong, or, things like that. It's just, it's kind of wild when you start to track those things. So noticing like where you've like been making yourself wrong, telling yourself the truth, and then how can you like flow? How can you let life show you what is next for you, what's right for you, one of my teachers always, this like landed in my body when she said this. And I heard this, in like 2020 or 2021, but she just really helped anchor in the idea that, we don't have to go looking for the next, especially if you're like recovering or new to understanding that you're a perfectionist, which I don't love that label, but I think you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. But if you're if you're like coming into awareness around the tendencies that you might have to just constantly refine and get better at something, whatever it is, I mean, my world is self-development, then when do you just relax, And she called it the healing fixing loop. I heal something to then go fix something, to heal something to go fix something, and I get stuck on that loop. And she offered the idea that has really felt so true for me, which is life is always going to organically bring you. You don't need to look for the next thing to heal. Life will show it to you. And, what's in the way is the way. So we want to not bypass what is here, which Pisces energy, shadow energy can be bypassing. So staying on just getting high, and I mean by high, I mean like ascending, like out of your body, um, as a form of looking at everything from a higher lens, which can be valuable. But when that's all you're doing, you're not bringing it into form. You're not bringing it into your life. If you're not actually being kind to people after you've seen how connected we all are, then nothing's changing. So bypassing, we don't want to bypass what's right in front of us. And what's right in front of us is usually the thing that needs to be addressed, from a healing standpoint, from an evolution standpoint. You don't have to go out and look for those things. And where I see this showing up a lot is, and it shows up, for me too, is, in the spaces that I want to develop in, if I am not discerning around what is mine and what's not, like what piece of information is for me, this person is doing this kind of thing. Should I do that too? Like they had success with that. I want success like them. Like maybe I should model myself after them. Like it's really like you want to be careful about um choosing, what's right, what's actually correct for me versus bypassing reality. So kind of staying present and grounded. So that positive Virgo energy, or high expression Virgo energy, bringing that into the beauty of letting yourself off the hook where you really need where you really need to, developing greater self-compassion, resolving conflict in loving ways. This is going to be huge for me in my partnership sphere. um, Forgiveness. Another teacher talks about, the ultimate flex in my mind. This is a Virgo way of looking at it because it's like the ultimate goal. But a flex in my mind is the moments where I can just forgive for no reason, like authentic forgiveness. Forgive for no reason. I don't need a reason to forgive. I am in the frequency of forgiveness. I don't need you to prove to me that you didn't mean to do something this way or that way. I don't need to prove to myself that I meant something different. Truly just like really let things go, trust grace, invite grace into your life, invite the mystery, invite God, the universe, whatever is your higher connection to help. This is like a time for us to be plugged in on a more, I think we'll see, drop the slipper. I think we'll see ourselves plugging into these energies in a way that become more ours, authentic. And that word's used a lot, but they've become more um, something that you can really trust that is your experience. I think it's going to be really beautiful. And maybe that's just how I feel tonight because I don't know. That's how I feel tonight, but I'm going to take that. um, so yeah, I might pop in over the course of the year or a cycle and share a little bit more. But yeah, if you've watched this and you have specific questions, I would love to know. And I'd be so happy to create more videos or explanations, teachings, or even point you to resources that I think are really, really helpful. Um, yeah, and we shall see to a new era of, man, this sounds so cheesy, but like, this is what I think is going to be anchoring in such a real way to more love, to more authentic love, to more, yeah, love that is practiced and not just the idea, you know, love that is requires commitment and mistakes and apologies. Mm, yeah, that's what I'm here for. And the more we can learn self-compassion and letting go of our own self-judgment and self-criticism, I mean, the less we're available for those things in return, and the less we're putting it out there. And that work is not pretty. It's just not. So if it's tough, you're not alone. And that's what people who are in this space, who are supporting with healing and different modalities and all that jazz, that's what I'm here for, is to help and to share the really real. Okay. Well, have a beautiful night, however this lands for you and wherever you are.